I never imagined my fiancé's mother was the secret lover. Would she ruin my chance at love? My heart raced as I stared at the cracked screen of my phone. The buzz had felt electric, the photo glaring back at me, sending shockwaves through my chest. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. That moment, hidden in the shadows of a perfect life, pierced me. I had just announced my engagement to Jake the night before. His smile, wide and sparkling, had filled my heart with hope. Then the morning sun cast light on a truth I didn't want to face. I was left with a mess of emotions, tangled like the strands of my hair. Doubt crept in, spider-like, spinning webs around my mind. I thought back to his mother, Diane. Elegant, imposing, with a voice that danced between honey and steel. She had laughed at our engagement, but I sensed something beneath her charming exterior. A chill took hold of me, the old photos flooding my memory, her lingering glances, the way she'd touch his arm just a moment too long. I shivered as the implications twisted around my throat like a noose. I never had the chance to dig deeper into their shared history. It bubbled beneath the surface, and the thought of confronting her was suffocating. The whispers of my friends echoed. Should I invite her to the wedding? Would she wear white? The thought made my palms sweat. The warmth of our shared moments faded, leaving me with ice in my veins. It was a Sunday, one of those crisp autumn afternoons where the leaves danced furiously, a storm brewing quietly in the sky. I caught Jake's grin, innocent and bright, as he rehashed our plans for the honeymoon. But all I could do was nod, listen to the rhythm of his heartbeat that no longer resonated with my own. My mind spiraled as I thought of the secrets that filled the air thick as fog. I could feel my hands trembling as I scrolled through my messages, the evidence still accusing me from the screen. I had to talk to him, but how could I shatter his image of his mother? The fear of losing him curled tightly in my gut, making each breath heavier. It felt as if I were teetering on the edge of a cliff, one step away from falling. Just then my phone buzzed again and my heart stumbled. It was a message from a number I didn't recognize. "We need to talk. It's about your fiancé." My breaths quickened. Who was this? What did they know? The urge to dive into the unknown tugged at me. I could almost hear my heartbeat drumming in my ears. What more was there to uncover? Would I be brave enough to face the truth lurking in the shadows? Or would I simply drown in my fears, suffocated by the one I thought I loved? The thought twisted in my mind, chaining me to the decisions I'd have to make. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The leaves rustled around me, the crisp air invigorating yet suffocating at the same time. I glanced at my phone, the new message glowing like a beacon of anxiety. My heart raced, pulsing with a mixture of dread and hope. Just then I felt a gentle touch on my shoulder and turned to find Amelia, my closest friend, with her warm, concerned eyes. "Hey, I just got here," she said softly, noting the worry etched on my face. "You okay?" I forced a smile, but the tremor in my voice betrayed me. "I'm fine. Just processing everything." She didn't buy it, and I hated that she felt obligated to investigate. "Processing?" she repeated, a hint of mischief dancing in her expression. More like trying not to explode. "Come on, why don't we go grab some coffee? You need to talk." I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding, grateful for her presence as a lifeline. "Okay," I conceded, needing the distraction, even if it felt like putting a band-aid over open wounds. As we stepped into the quaint cafe, the rich aroma of coffee wrapped around me like a warm blanket. I settled into a corner booth, staring at the swirling patterns in my cup, the steam caressing my cheeks. Amelia studied me, her gaze unwavering. "Talk to me," she urged gently. "No, really," I said, shaking my head. "I can't. I don't even know where to start." "Start with what's been bothering you. I can see it's more than just wedding anxiety." Her words pierced through my defenses. I felt the walls crumbling down. Taking a deep breath, I finally blurted, "What if Jake's mother is involved in something darker? I saw a text that implies they have history. I'm terrified." Amelia's brow creased with concern, but her hands reached across the table, squeezing mine. You can't jump to conclusions. Did you talk to Jake about it? That's the problem, I whispered, feeling the tears prick at my eyes. What if it's true? What if confronting her makes him hate me? Or it could bring you closer. Amelia leaned back, her eyes warm with encouragement. You deserve to know the truth. Either way, this secret could destroy everything you have with him. Something flickered inside me, a small ember of resolve struggling to blaze. Just then my phone buzzed again. A fresh message lit the screen and my breath hitched. I hesitated but gradually opened it, heart pounding. Meet me at the park tonight. I have proof, it read, sending icy fingers down my spine. Come alone. I felt the blood drain from my face as Amelia leaned in. What is it? Just some random person wanting to meet, I lied, not ready to unveil the growing storm surging within me. Are you going? She asked, concern knitting her brows. I hesitated. The message spinning in my mind like a tornado. Here I stood on the precipice of darkness, pulled between fear and an indescribable urge to learn the truth. After a moment of silence, I nodded. I think I have to. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, a sliver of courage ignited within me. I wrapped my scarf tightly around my neck and headed to the park, the chill biting at my skin. My heart thundered like a drum in a silent night, and with each step, doubt clawed at my resolve. The park was deserted, shadows stretching across the jagged branches overhead. I shivered, the dim light casting an eerie glow on the path ahead. I arrived at the bench where the stranger had said to meet, glancing around for any sign of them. Time ticked away, thick with tension and anxiety. I fought the urge to turn back, the weight of uncertainty pushing me down. My phone buzzed once more, a message flashing across the screen. I can help you. Just as I stood there, rigid with expectation, a figure emerged from the gloom. My blood ran cold as recognition surged. It was someone I knew all too well, Sarah, Jake's closest friend. I stumbled back, shock ripping through me. What are you doing here? I managed to ask, each word heavy with betrayal. I know about Diane, she said quickly, her voice rushed, eyes darting around as if the night itself might betray us. What do you mean? My pulse quickened again, desperate for answers. I've seen the texts and it's not just what you think. There's more and you need to listen. It's about Jake. The weight of her words bore down upon me like a crushing tide. As I stood on the threshold of revelations that could shatter everything, would I find the strength to confront the truths about the man I loved, and the web of deceit surrounding him? The wind howled softly through the park, seeming to echo the turmoil swelling within me. Sarah's words hung heavy in the air, each syllable a needle stitching doubt into my heart. I took a shaky step closer, urgency clawing at my insides. What do you know about Jake? Her gaze darted nervously over her shoulder before settling back on me, fear etched on her face. It's not just about Diane being involved. She's been manipulating him for years. You don't know how deep this goes. Manipulating him? I repeated, my mind racing. What are you talking about? Sarah swallowed hard, collecting her thoughts as I felt the world around me blur. Diane doesn't want him to be with you. She's not just his mother. There's a Historia connection no one talks about. As the gravity of her words sunk in, anger flared within me. Are you saying she's trying to keep him with her, like she has some sort of hold over him? More like she's scared of losing him. The sort of scared that can drive someone to do terrible things, Sarah whispered, her voice low and urgent. You need to be careful, she's not someone to take lightly. Think about all the times you wondered why Jake seemed distant or distracted. I thought it was just wedding stress, I murmured, disbelief spilling from my lips. But it's more than that. Yes, she affirmed, her eyes softening with sympathy. You're the one who can bring him back to reality. But if Diane has her claws in too deep, it could ruin everything. That a whirlwind of emotions swept over me: fear, betrayal, and the sudden loss of the fragile trust one had held in Jake's family. But beneath it all, a flicker of hope ignited. If I'm going to fight for him, I need to confront her. I can't let her control our relationship. Be careful, Sarah cautioned, her voice trembling slightly. Diane is unpredictable. Just promise me you won't go in there without a plan. I nodded solemnly, the dawn of resolve settling over my wavering spirit. Promise. Good. She took a step back, the tension easing as she fished something from her pocket, an aged photograph. This is a picture of them together when they were younger. I found it in Jake's things. It's clear there's a bond that even time hasn't severed. I reached for the photo, my heartbeat quickening as the hazy memory washed over me. Jake laughing in a park. A little boy with a radiant smile. A woman standing too close beside him. What else don't I know? I whispered. After a while, she'll likely try to manipulate you again, Sarah warned. Don't back down, stand firm. No matter how much she tries to convince you that you don't belong. Her advice settled like a protective layer around my heart, but a gnawing anxiety remained. If it's true, if Diane has feelings for him, what does that mean for Jake and me? I know you care about him, Sarah said softly, but you also deserve clarity. Please let me help you. As she spoke, the air around us shifted, an electric current sparking in the atmosphere. Meet me here tomorrow? I suggested, needing to strategize. I feel like I have to do something. I can't bear to do it alone. Of course, she agreed with a nod, but all I could think about was tonight's impending confrontation. As we parted ways, the weight of uncertainty settled over me again, deeper this time. I walked back toward home, grappling with what I had learned. Would Jake stand with me against his mother? Would he even believe me? The night wrapped around me, cold and clinging. I needed comfort, fabric to soothe this raw wound. So I turned to the one place that felt safe, Jake's house. I arrived at the doorstep, heart in my throat, my mind racing ahead to how he would react to the words I needed to say, the truth that might change everything. Just as I raised my hand to knock, the door swung open, revealing Jake, his expression morphing from surprise to concern. Hey, are you okay? He asked, his warmth a balm to my frigid skin. Did I need to talk? I stammered, realizing the weight of the truth I bore. It's about your mother. But before I could voice the whirlwind of emotions roiling in my chest, footsteps echoed behind Jake, Diane materializing in the doorway like a dark omen, eyes glimmering with a possessiveness that made my stomach churn. Why do you think it's a good idea to come here? She snapped, her voice sharp as glass. What is it you want? The question hung in the air, heavy with unsaid truths. I looked between them, desperation threading through my veins. Here, at this very moment, with the both of them in front of me, I felt the walls closing in. I was a tightrope walker, my balance teetering between the man I loved and the woman determined to keep him. And then, as if the universe decided to tease fate, my phone buzzed. I glanced down, heart racing at the unforeseen message. You should know the truth before it's too late. I felt the color drain from my face as I locked eyes with Jake, who searched mine for answers, while Diane's shadow loomed ominously behind him. The fear of revelation was nothing compared to the terror of what might come after. The air grew thick with tension, each second stretching into eternal minutes. I felt Jake's warmth beside me, but Diane's quiet hostility was palpable, like a storm cloud ready to unleash its fury. What is it, Lila? Jake pressed, his brow furrowing in concern. In that moment, the message on my phone simmered in my mind, the weight of its implication pressing down on me. My heart raced. I feared the truth it promised to unveil. Why did it feel like my life had turned into a dramatic twist from a bad soap opera? I stammered, unsure of how to navigate this minefield. Whatever lies Lila has told you are nothing but fabrications, Jake, Diane interjected, her tone draped in honeyed malice. She is confused and doesn't understand what love really is. You should not entertain her nonsense. Mom, that's not fair. Jake shot back, his voice edging toward anger. I need to hear her out. You can't just dismiss her like that. He turned to me, his gaze steady, urging me to continue. What's going on? Determination flooded through me, battling against the gnawing fear. I took a breath and gestured to the photo still clutched tightly in my hand, drawing both of their eyes. I spoke to Sarah, I declared, swallowing hard, and she told me about your relationship with Diane, Jake. About how she has feelings for you. Diane's expression curdled. It was a fleeting glimpse of the vulnerability she concealed beneath layers of control. You're making baseless claims, Lila, she retorted, her voice cracking just a degree. What could you possibly know about our relationship? You're wrong, Jake interjected, stepping closer, his protective instinct flaring. This isn't just about you, Mom. It's about me. And about Lila. I love her, and I need you to understand that. I felt the momentum shift as Jake's eyes flicked back to me, shimmering with a mix of confusion and determination. Lila, please, what did Sarah say? What's the truth? At his insistence, I plunged into the honesty that had been building within me like a tightening knot. She said that Diane has controlled you for years, that she's scared of losing you, and that she might try to keep you close for her own reasons. Reasons that go far beyond a parent's love. Diane stepped closer, a whirlwind of emotions swirling in her eyes, masking her vulnerability with rage. Do you think you know my love for my son? She hissed, her voice low and strong, yet trembling with something else, fear. I'm not saying you don't love him, I countered, raising my chin defiantly. But love shouldn't trap someone. It shouldn't create a cage, which is what it feels like to me. That's why I need to know the truth, all of it. For Jake's sake and mine, have you ever thought, Lila, that perhaps you are not the one meant to be in his life? Diane spat, venom drenching her words. You think you can waltz in and take him from me after all I've done? You don't know anything about sacrifice or loyalty. Her words struck deep, resonating in the hollow spaces of my heart. Did she believe I was a passing fancy, a whim he'd outgrow? I glanced at Jake, who looked torn, each of my words weaving confusion into the fabric of his reality, and I could see it unraveling. In the midst of this chaos, the vibration of my phone disrupted the charged atmosphere again. It was another message. I hesitated but felt an urgent pull to read it. Something inside insisted I had to know. Meet me at the cafe if you want the truth about your mother and Jake. You won't believe who's waiting for you there. Gripping the phone tightly, I shut my eyes, heart pounding. What did that mean? Who could possibly hold the key to unraveling this tangled web? No. What do you have there? Diane snapped, her sudden shift in focus drawing Jake's gaze, just as furiously protective of his space. I hesitated, feeling the weight of the decision press on my chest. I could stay and continue to illuminate the shadows cast upon us, or I could ruin it with suffocating. The reality of a love that felt so precarious. But then, how could I walk away without at least trying to untangle the knots binding Jake and Diane together? I don't know what to do, I whispered, more to myself than to them. Lila, don't let her manipulate you. You deserve better, Jake said, his voice a lifeline, anchoring me amidst the storm. But the urge to escapedo, seek answers elsewhere, washed over me. I faced both of them, suddenly emboldened. I need to go. There are things out there that you both don't know, and if this love means anything, we need to confront the past together. Before they could respond, I turned on my heel, adrenaline pushing me forward. I felt Jake's fingers graze my arm, sending a lightning bolt of warmth through me. Lila! Wait! I glanced back one last time, his eyes pleading, but I couldn't linger. As I stepped into the cool night air, a mix of fear and hope spiraled within me. Time blurred, and I rushed toward the cafe, resolved to seek the truth even if it shattered the world I thought I knew. Tonight I might find a piece of clarity, or I might end up unraveling everything. Either way, my heart hammered with both dread and anticipation. What awaited me beyond those doors? And how deep did Diane's influence run? The answers felt dangerously close, yet remained shrouded in darkness. Just as I turned the corner toward the cafe, my breath caught, the shadow of a figure waiting outside became clearer, and my heart sank as realization dawned. Just who had been waiting for me was a truth I never anticipated. The cafe was a comforting haven, but the air inside felt electric, each breath thick with the weight of unspoken words. I pushed through the door, my skin prickling with anticipation, my heart racing. There, against the warm lights that flickered like stars against the night, stood Sarah. She looked smaller than I remembered, almost swallowed by the shadows cast by the cafe's cozy decor. Anxiety rippled through her, but her eyes never wavered as they locked onto mine, filled with a mix of sorrow and determination. I felt an overwhelming rush of emotions, a mix of relief to see her and unease for why she might have prompted me here. Lila, she said softly, stepping toward me as if the very act of speaking could dissolve the tension crackling between us. I'm glad you came. Why did you want me to meet you here? I asked, barely louder than a whisper. My instincts were on high alert, unsure of how to process the unsteady ground beneath us. What do you know? She gestured for us to sit, her fingers trembling slightly as she placed them on the table. I didn't want to tell you this without an explanation. It's complicated. I wish it weren't, but it is. Please just listen. The words tumbled from her, each one steeped in the weight of hidden truths. Diana knew well we have a history. We were friends once, but it was never just friendship. I loved her, Lila. And she loved me too. My heart dropped into the pit of my stomach. What do you mean? You and my Jake's mother? The reality felt so far-fetched, Yet as Sarah continued, the pieces seemed to slide into place like an elaborate puzzle revealing an unsettling image. Yes. It was a long time ago before I met you. Things ended between us dramatically. I chose to walk away, and she made it clear she wanted a life with Jake, a family. But I never stopped caring. When I learned she was becoming involved with you and that she was still determined to control him, I thought it was time to reach out again. Diane once radiated an air of authority. Now the weight of her past unfurled the very fabric of her carefully constructed identity. The reality felt like a striking blow, rocking me back. But why tell me now? Why not talk to Jake? Because she's not just trying to keep him close out of love, Lila. It's a fear of losing her past. If Jake was ever to find out the truth about her, what would happen then? It could shatter everything, Sarah murmured, her voice almost breaking down. My mind reeled at the thought. The strands of their connection knotting further into a complex web of emotion and selfishness. What does this mean for me? For Jake? How can I protect him? You need to decide what love means to you, Lila. I thought I'd lost her for good. And I filled the void with the love of someone else, but sometimes the heart doesn't forget. If you choose to be with Jake, you'll have to navigate that pain and your own heart will bear the scars. Her vulnerability cut deep. It felt as though she was sharing pieces of herself that she couldn't bear to carry alone. There were hints of both hope and despair in her voice, a rawness that mirrored my own swirling feelings. But I can't keep Jake in a bubble. We need the truth, not shadows. The door to the cafe swung open, allowing in a rush of air, and my heart leaped into my throat. I turned, half expecting to see Jake. Instead it was Diane. My breath hitched, and before I could react, she locked onto me, her expression freezing over with something that felt darker than mere anger. Lila, she said, her voice severe, breaking the fragile atmosphere like glass shattering. You need to leave. Now. What are you doing here? I found my voice shaky yet fierce. You can't control me like you control everything else in your life. Control? You think I'm controlling? Her laughter was hollow, devoid of humor. It echoed through the cafe, halting conversations, drawing attention. I care for Jake. Unlike you, I wouldn't lead him down a path of lies and deception. The other patrons shifted uncomfortably, and I sensed the witnesses to our escalating standoff. The warmth of Sarah's hand brushed mine. Beneath the tablia lifeline amidst the brewing storm. This is our chance to set the record straight, Diane. Diane's eyes narrowed, the defiance in them hardening into something much darker, more frightening. You have no idea what you're doing, and you should really watch your back, Lila. You think you're uncovering the truth about me? What lies buried in the past? Let me remind you, secrets can be fatal. The words lingered in the air, thick with threat, and I felt the blood rush to my ears, smothering the warmth of Sarah's support. My head spun as I struggled to maintain my resolve, the revelation about their past intertwining painfully with my present. Oh, you think Jake will choose you over me? Over everything I've given for him? Diane hissed, her voice low, deadly calm. What's between us runs deeper than you'll ever understand. My pulse quickened, propelling me toward a precipice that held both danger and clarity. Suddenly, I grasped the fragile thread of my choices, and the realization struck like lightning. You mean he doesn't even know the whole truth? Diane's glance flicked away momentarily, just enough for me to catch a sliver of uncertainty, and in that split second a sliver of doubt crept in. What could you possibly know about our history? Your relationship with him is built on deception. I swallowed hard as I felt the ground shift beneath me. Then tell me the truth. What are you really afraid of, Diane? Or is this about keeping Jake trapped in your web, to tether him with guilt and fear? For a beat, it felt like time collapsed as we stood there, clashing wills feeding the mounting tension and awareness of our intertwined lives. I could see the tremor in Diane's hands, the way she fought against something deeper than on-era fear that consumed the remnants of love she clung to. That's enough. Sarah interrupted, her voice suddenly strong. This isn't just about you, Diane. You're holding on to a past that may never come back. Let go and give Jake a chance to choose who he truly loves. The room grew silent, the audacity of Sarah's words hanging like a fragile crystal string. The world around us faded, and in that moment it became painfully clear. None of us would emerge unscathed from this battle of truths and half-lies. Diane's eyes blazed as she looked between Sarah and me, and for the first time, I saw her strength waver, a hint of fear creeping in. You think you've uncovered everything? You have no idea what's coming for you both. And with that, before any of us could respond, she turned and walked out into the night, leaving behind a promise of impending chaos. For a moment we stood still, caught in the aftermath of unsaid words and shifting loyalties. The stakes had risen, and uncertainties loomed larger than life itself. I turned to Sarah, my heart pounding. What does she know? What darkness did we just expose? The truth was no longer just a path I sought. It was a storm brewing, ready to swallow us whole. The silence left in Diane's wake felt like an echo of unresolved tensions hanging heavy in the air. I glanced at Sarah, who wore a mask of concern mixed with something else, fear perhaps. We both knew that the confrontation had only opened the floodgates, and the ordeal was far from over. Lila, Sarah said, her voice trembling slightly, we need to talk. Not just about Diane but everything this means for us, for Jake. We're standing on the edge of something monumental. I nodded, but my thoughts were racing. The cafe's warm ambience now felt like a trap. Each comforting corner seemed to mock the turmoil swirling in my chest. What more could there be? I asked, fear punctuating my words. What other secrets could Diane possibly hold? Sarah leaned in, her brow furrowing in concentration. There's a lot about her past that still hasn't surfaced. She has always been the type to hide the darkest pieces of her life behind a polished facade. I know that Jake deserves to know who his mother really is, but it could destroy him. I swallowed hard, the weight of responsibility settling on my shoulders like an oppressive blanket. I had come to love Jake wholly, and it pained me to think of the betrayal he was bound to experience. What will she do if we confront her again? Diane seems ruthless, willing to protect her secrets at any cost. Sarah sighed, her expression softening with empathy. I've watched her navigate her world with a puppeteer's skill, always pulling strings. But you, Lila, you have to make a choice. You have to choose a path that feels right to you, not just for Jake but also for yourself. For a moment I wondered if I had the strength to confront the tidal wave of betrayal that could rush forward. Was it fair to drag Jake into this, to pull away the curtains from a past that could break him? I felt my resolve wavering, uncertainty clawing at my heart. Just then the cafe door swung open again, a rush of cool air flooding in. I turned, hoping against hope that it was Jake stepping through, ready to intercede and pull me from this spiral of confusion. Instead, it was a barista carrying a tray laden with cups, focusing all attention on the task at hand. I released the breath I'd been holding, chastising myself for the momentary hope. Maybe it would be safer to leave this alone, I murmured, unsure if I was persuading Sarah or myself. What if confronting Diane makes things worse? What ifs will only keep you in that chair forever? Sarah cut me off gently. You're strong enough to face whatever's ahead. I know that. And I know that deep down Jake needs you as much as you need him. Don't underestimate the power of your love. That's what makes truth worth fighting for. Her words sparked a flicker of hope within me, yet the fear of losing Jake, of tearing apart the threads of his youth and happiness, loomed like a storm cloud willing to burst forth at any moment. I stared down at my trembling hands, feeling the weight of a decision burgeoning just beneath the surface. What if Jake decides to side with her? I whispered, fear seeping into my tone. Then you fight for your love, Sarah replied firmly. You fight for the person you know, the man you've chosen to be with. You can't let Diane dictate who he gets to love or who you are to him. As her encouragement washed over me, I felt an ember of courage take hold, a determination to stand tall for Jake's sake. The darkness grew heavier, but I had a flickering light to guide me. Okay, we set up a time to talk with Jake. I'll prepare myself for whatever comes, I resolved, my heart racing with both dread and the shimmer of newfound clarity. Yet before we could make the arrangements, my phone buzzed, the screen illuminating the dim ambience of the cafe. It was a message from Jake. Lila, where are you? I'm worried. Can we meet? My breath caught in my throat, a blend of exhilaration and fear flooding my senses. I have to meet him, I said abruptly, urgency propelling me toward the door. I need to talk to him before anything else goes any further. Wait, Sarah called, rising from her seat. I'm coming with you. We'll face this together. As we stepped outside, the night air felt electric, charged with the weight of our unshared secrets and our hopes hanging precariously in the balance. I could see Jake standing a few feet away, an undeniable silhouette filled with anxiety and anticipation. The warmth of his presence ignited something deep within me, but alongside it lingered the daunting reality of the truths I suddenly had to unveil. Lila, he called, his voice tinged with concern. What's going on? I felt like I had to find you. I glanced at Sarah, who offered a nod of encouragement as we both took hesitant steps toward him. The ominous words Diane had left us with echoed in my mind. You have no idea what's coming. Jake, I began, the mountains of revelation teetering on my lips. There are some things we need to discuss. About your mother, and about us in the shadows of uncertainty. I sensed the ground shift beneath us. A haunting awareness that everything was about to change. The moment stretched, heavy with the weight of unspoken truths, like a taut wire ready to snap. Jake's expression shifted from concern to confusion, and I felt my heart clench in response. Lila, what are you talking about? He took a step closer, his eyes searching mine, as if hoping to catch a glimmer of reassurance. You're scaring me. I opened my mouth, the words dancing precariously on the edge of my tongue, but I couldn't find the strength to plunge into the unknown. It's about Diane, I finally managed, my voice barely above a whisper at the mention of his mother. Jake's face hardened, a flicker of something defiance crossing his features. What about her? Is she okay? I hesitated, caught between my instinct to protect him and the looming shadow of Diane's secrets. I met Sarah's gaze, hoping for a sign, something to anchor me in this storm of emotions. She's not who you think she is, Sarah interjected gently, stepping forward as if to take the brunt of his surprise. There's a history between her and Lila that you need to understand. We believe she's been hiding things from you, dangerous things. Jake stiffened, visibly processing our words. Like what? His voice was steadier now, the tension beneath the surface raging to be acknowledged. He glanced back at me, desperation rolling off him like waves crashing against a rocky shore. Lila, just tell me. I took a deep breath. Each inhale felt laced with fear, as memories of recent confrontations flooded my mind. There are parts of her past that could hurt you, Jake. I don't want you to be blindsided when the truth comes out. It's about her choices, the way she's affected our lives and your childhood. I saw the color drain from Jake's face, his expression shifting from concern to something deeper, betrayal perhaps. And you thought keeping this from me was a good idea? He asked, pain mingling with disbelief in his tone. You should have told me sooner. I was trying to protect you. I fired back, frustration bubbling up. I didn't know how to bring this up. I don't want you to suffer further pain because of her. He ran a hand through his hair, taking a few steps back as if trying to distance himself from the gravity of our words. You think I'm going to come out of this unscathed anyway? My whole life has been a facade, and now I'm supposed to just accept that my mother is a stranger? The jagged edge of his voice cut through me. Jake, listen. I pleaded, but the chasm between us felt even wider now, filled with hurt and misunderstanding. Sarah stepped in again. It's not just you, Jake. This lies in the heart of all of us. Lila and I believe facing this head-on could lead to healing, even if it means tearing down the walls of deceit first. He shook his head, incredulous. Healing? By shattering what little I have left? I wasn't ready for this. Not now. His voice wavered, and fury turned into vulnerability, making him seem smaller, a boy struggling with the complexity of his reality. Tears stung my eyes as I watched him wrestle with his emotions, memories of a time when everything felt simpler flooding back. I don't want to hurt you, Jake. I just want to find a way through this together. My heart cried out for him, longing to reach across the chasm that lingered. Jake glanced back at Sarah, and I could see the wheels turning in his mind, calculating the risk, weighing the truth and how it could shatter the remnants of his perceived realities. What else do I not know? He demanded, his voice steady despite the turbulent emotions swirling behind his gaze. Before I could respond, a bright light engulfed us, causing Jake to turn sharply. A car pulled up, headlights slicing through the darkness like an unwelcome intrusive thought. The passenger door swung open, revealing a silhouette that sent a wave of unease rippling across my skin. Jake. The voice of Diane rang out, filled with false cheer as if she hadn't just been at the center of a storm. There you are, darling. I've been looking for you. The contrast between her jovial tone and the tension in the air felt grotesque. In that moment, time slowed. Jake's face morphed from shock to rage as he glanced back at me, disbelief etched into every angle of his features. What the hell is she doing here? An icy grip enveloped my heart. The confrontation I dreaded, the unmasking of the truth, outlined in the stark light of Diane's arrival. I could feel the churning nausea within me, and the air thickened with unfeeling, unspoken accusations. Suddenly, it was all slipping through my fingers. Truths I'd longed to reveal were overshadowed by the very person who tore them all apart. Diane stepped forward, her expression a perfect mix of concern and something more sinister beneath the surface, like shadows dancing over fragile glass. Jake, sweetheart, you shouldn't be out here with them. I've come to take you home. Home? Jake echoed, disbelief and resentment clouding his expression. With you? After everything? I felt an endless silence stretching, bursting with questions that demanded answers. And beneath it all, I sensed an ominous wave of revelations yet to crash upon the shore. Jake's world was fracturing, and I could only watch as Diane, the storm itself, threatened to engulf even the strongest foundations we'd built. The moment hung there suspended in time, as I braced for the impact of a truth I didn't know if I could face. The air around us felt electric, each pulse vibrating with uncertainty and unspoken tensions. Jake's hand clenched into a fist at his side as he turned to face his mother, the fight in him simmering just below the surface. Even in the face of Diane's cheerful facade, I could sense a storm brewing in him, ready to unleash years of pent-up frustration and betrayal. Mom, this isn't what it looks like, he said, the words forced through gritted teeth. I need to understand what's happening. Lila and Sarah are trying to tell me something important. Diane stepped forward, her smile fading slightly, revealing a crack in her composure. Oh, sweetheart, they're just trying to mislead you. You know how they can be, she said, her voice dripping with that familiar patronizing tone. You shouldn't listen to them. I watched as Jake's face contorted, a cocktail of emotions flashing through his eyes: hurt, anger, and confusion mixing into a potent wrath that made him look older, more worn. They're trying to help me figure out the truth, he shot back, his composure wavering like a flickering candle in the wind. What else aren't you telling me? The shifting dynamics felt like tectonic plates colliding, each moment leading us closer to the inevitable eruption. Diane's demeanor shifted further, her mask slipping to reveal a face not of concern but control. You really think they have your best interests at heart? They're just jealous of our family. They're trying to tear us apart. No, I interjected, desperation turning my voice raw. We don't want to tear anyone apart, Diane. But you need to step back and let him hear the truth. Diane's eyes bore into mine, and for a fleeting moment, I saw something else, a glimmer of fear beneath the steel resolve. You're meddling where you don't belong, Lila, she hissed, the sharpness of her tone sending chills down my spine. You think you know everything, but you have no idea what you're getting yourself into. Before I could respond, Jake stepped between us, his mouth set in a firm line. No, Mom. She's right. I need to know. But for once, I need you to be honest with me. The wavering of his voice stabbed through the heart of the matter, revealing the fear enveloping us all, fear of truths unfurling like a dark, unwelcome tapestry. Diane's momentary defiance transformed into something more sinister, almost conspiratorial as she leaned in closer, allowing her voice to drop. Some truths are better left hidden, Jake. They could ruin everything. Your life, your happiness. Her words trailed off, each syllable laced with warning. You don't understand the weight of these revelations. What can be worse than what I already know? Jake's voice cracked, and in that moment, every layer of bravado crumbled. You've lied to my face for years. I deserve to know what kind of life I've had. Enough. Diane snapped, and the surge of fury that followed erupted like a wild flame, illuminating the night for a brief moment. You think you want the truth, but it will shatter you. Trust me. My heart raced, caught in the storm of their confrontation. Jake's eyes glistened with unshed tears, the dam of his emotions nearing a breaking point. What do you mean, shatter me? What could possibly hurt more than finding out you've been lying to me? Suddenly, Sarah stepped forward, her voice steady and resolute. Jake, she said softly, it's not just about Diane. There are connections, things you won't expect. But before she could finish, a voice interrupted us from the shadows. You shouldn't be saying their names, Sarah. They've caused too much hurt already. Jake and I turned sharply to see Mark, Diane's oldest friend and the one she often referred to when making excuses for her actions, stepping into the dim light, his presence casting an even darker shadow. I felt a shiver run through me. He had always accompanied the hints of trouble that plagued Jake's family. Diane's expression darkened, a betrayed twist on her lips. Mark, we don't need this, she snapped, but there was a quake of uncertainty beneath her words. We need to face things, Diane, he urged, his voice gravelly but firm. Keeping it all bottled up will only make things worse. Jake deserves answers and so does Lila. We can't continue this charade. My pulse raced as I sensed the shift in the atmosphere. Mark's unexpected arrival didn't just add to the chaos. It felt like the tipping point, pushing us further toward the truth I feared yet craved. Why do you care, Mark? Diane spat, an edge of incredulity in her voice. You've always supported me. Because I can't keep watching this family burn from the inside, he shot back. The truth is eating away at all of us, and you more than anyone need to acknowledge as Jake turned to face Mark. A new glimmer of clarity broke through the fog of confusion in his eyes. What are you talking about? What truth? Something shifted in that moment like a heavy tide retreating from the shore, revealing hidden depths beneath. We stood on the precipice of an emotional cliff, ready to leap into uncharted territories of pain and understanding. Diane's composure faltered, and the jagged lines of her resolve crumpled. Stop it, Mark, she hissed, desperation spilling into her voice. You don't understand what's at stake here. With the weight of her words hanging in the air, everything felt poised for collapse. As tears welled up in Jake's eyes, I reached for him, fear and love intertwining like a fragile thread holding us together amid the unraveling chaos. In that moment, I realized I was standing at the edge of secrets and betrayals far darker than I had ever anticipated. With one revelation from Mark, we could ignite a chain reaction that would expose Diane and everything she had hidden, forever altering the fragile bond between Jake and me. But as I prepared for the truth to crash down upon us, a single thought flared in my mind: what if we weren't ready to pay the price of uncovering those buried secrets? Just as the tension reached its peak, a sudden sound ripped through the silence. A shattering crash echoed from the house behind us, sending a shockwave through our small group. The rumble of something breaking, something important. A warning that it was no longer just about our secrets. What started as a personal battle was spiraling out into something much bigger, darker, beyond our control. Jake, I shouted, the panic rising within me as I instinctively stepped back. The weight of the night became unbearable, teetering at the edge of impending disaster, the truth and its consequences circling dangerously close, preparing to unleash everything we held dear. The cacophony of the shattering glass pierced through the tension, echoing in the heavy air like a harbinger of chaos. Startled, we all turned toward the source of the noise. A flickering light from inside the house illuminating shadowy outlines of furniture swallowed by darkness. I could feel my heart racing, pounding against my ribs as if trying to escape the mounting dread creeping up my spine. Stay here, Jake commanded, his voice breaking through the chaotic symphony of surprises and fears. Before I could protest, he charged toward the front door, the urgency in his steps a stark contrast to the gravelly weight of uncertainty ceaselessly pressing down on us. Before I could catch my breath, Sarah grabbed my arm with a vice-like grip. What was that? Her voice trembled, barely a whisper. The bond we shared through our friendship tethered us both in this moment, yet I felt myself slipping away, pulled into the whirlpool of what was about to unfold. I don't know, I replied, the words tumbling out, hardly enough to cover the terror lurking behind my own eyes. As Jake opened the door, the uncertainty morphed into total disarray. I stepped forward, my body obeying that instinct to protect, even as a sense of foreboding halted my feet at the threshold. Inside, the room was awash in the soft glow of lamps that had flickered to life, but the chaos lay scattered across the floor, broken shards glinting like teeth waiting to devour us. A vase that had once sat proudly on the mantel lay shattered, its contents strewn like breadcrumbs leading us into a darkened pile of dread. Mom? Jake's voice sliced through the anxiety as he stepped further inside. I caught a glimpse of Diane, huddled against the wall, her fingers trembling as they brushed against the remnants of her malformed facade. Tears streamed down her cheeks, carving fragile paths of despair and remorse. I didn't mean to, she murmured, broken, a haunting echo of someone trapped within her own labyrinth of lies. In that moment, I understood there were stakes far larger than any petty familial dispute. The truth was a wild beast, clawing at the fabric of our lives, ready to tear it apart, piece by piece. Mark, having followed Jake into the house, recoiled as though witnessing an accident unfold. Diane, he said softly, yet his voice was heavy with the weight of accusations unsaid. What happened? Tu just wanted to protect you all, she sobbed, and with each word, she seemed to dissolve further into her crumbling self. You don't understand what they're capable of. I had to keep you safe. Safe from what? Jake's voice, now laced with bitterness, quaked through the air. Was it worth breaking my heart and shattering our lives? Staring into his mother's eyes was like peering into the deep pit of hurt laced with the desperation of 1,000 lies. My heart ached for him, yet resentment burned hotter. How could she think that this was protection? How could this disarray ever lead to safety? Then suddenly, a strange calm enveloped the chaos as if someone had pressed pause on the world. I noticed Sarah standing behind me, her gaze transfixed on Diane, somewhere between sympathy and indignation. This isn't the way to show you love someone, she said quietly, conviction thundering behind her soft words. Diane's gaze flickered toward Sarah, the warmth in her eyes dimming further as realization began to wash over her. In that small confession, Diane seemed not only a mother but a woman worn thin by her own decisions, battling a war against shadows that had long since consumed her. You think I wanted to come to this? She whispered, the cracked timbre of her voice echoing the weight of her choices. But Jake wasn't ready to relent. What have you done, Mom? What truths are you hiding beneath all this mess? The atmosphere shifted again. Each breath grew heavy, layered with anticipation. I could feel the tension squirming in the corners of the room, as the unspoken words piled precariously on the brink of disaster. Truth, like a light within the darkness, was close yet frighteningly invasive, and for everyone in the room it seemed it might burn rather than illuminate. Just as Jake took a step closer to his mother, her wall of denial began to crack. There was someone, she whispered, a shard of panic erupting in her voice. Someone I loved. I thought I lost him. What do you mean? Mark pressed, a sense of urgency creeping into his tone. Diane squeezed her eyes shut, like a soldier preparing for an ambush. He died. He's gone, but I never stopped waiting for him to come home, she admitted, her trembling lips revealing an unfathomable depth of sorrow. And you all stop, Jake shouted, his face twisted with anguish and anger, a perfect storm of emotion flooding over him. You're still hiding. You've spun this web of deceit all for your selfishness. If you care for us, just tell me the truth. With his words, a visceral crack reverberated through the room as secrets teetered on the edge of revelation. The door rattled as it swung slightly ajar, an ominous prelude to what was unraveling. Just as I started to collect my thoughts, a shadow moved outside, lurking beneath the veil of twilight, and in that instant, an icy chill settled in my chest. Who's there? I called out into the thickening shadows, heart racing with dread. The uncertainty rattled me and fear blossomed in my throat, choking my attempts to taste the weight of this elusive truth. I braced for the worst. Before I could shout again, a form emerged from the darkness, a figure stepping from the hidden corners of our lives, their identity cloaked in mysteries that could copy the destructive nature of Diane's past. And then, as the headlights of a passing car illuminated their face for just a heartbeat, I gasped as the realization roared through me. A familiar face from the pasta ghost that had haunted my nightmares and delighted my fears stood before me, poised to spill the secrets I had both dreaded and longed to understand. With that face came a weight unrelenting, like the weight of the truth itself, preparing to crush everything we had built and all we hoped to salvage, a confrontation that threatened to unravel all the threads of love, loyalty, and hope intertwining our fates. Lila, the figure said, their voice slicing through the confusion like a knife. I need to tell you everything. I stood frozen, staring at the figure emerging from the shadows, a face from my past, one I had never expected to see again. It was like another layer of shock crashing over me, begging for recognition. What are you doing here? I managed to stammer, my heart racing as my mind wrestled with the implications of this unexpected arrival. Please just listen, the figure insisted, a tremor of desperation threading through their voice. It was Mia, my childhood friend, the one who slipped through the cracks of my memories years ago after a tragedy we had never fully unpacked. I've been trying to find you, Lila. What's happening now? It's bigger than just you and Jake or Diane. It's about all of us. Chaos reigned inside me, but I couldn't deny the tether that connected us, the weight of shared history we had buried beneath layers of our lives. You have to go, Diane warned, but I could see the flicker of fear in her eyes, the glimmer of something more treacherous than just anger over her secrets. Your mother's been living a lie, Jake, Mia pressed on, her gaze darting from Diane to us, her urgency palpable. You need answers and I can help you find them. What do you mean? Jake said, and I could see the storm brewing within him. His eyes darkened as he balanced between anger and curiosity, the ties to his mother unraveling like loose threads in an old tapestry. There are things you've never been told, things that could change everything. Mia continued, stepping closer as if to bridge the invisible gulf between our families. Your mother, she was involved in something dangerous, and it ties back to your father. Jake recoiled, confusion mingling with betrayal in every line of his face. My dad? He stammered, glancing back at Diane, his voice rising with every word. What do you know about my dad? Diane folded her arms tightly, visibly shaken. You don't know what you're asking, Jake. Leave this be. You're better off without the dirt of the past coming back to haunt you. But Mia's gaze was unwavering. No. He deserves the truth, Diane. It's time to face it, she declared, her voice electric in the charged atmosphere. You can't protect him anymore by hiding. This was a battle of wills, each of us encased in our perceptions, following the echoes of our choices, hunched beneath the limbs of our lives. I looked between them, feeling every pulse of tension like a pendulum swinging in a visible clock that marked each second as more precious than the last. Lila, Mia said softly, her eyes shimmering with unspoken emotions, you have to understand Diane's choices carried consequences that reach so far beyond you. Your mother, her connection to Jake's father, it's a storm that's been brewing for years that I swallowed hard. The walls that had been built to protect us were now crumbling, and the ground felt less stable with every breath, every revelation. What happened to my mom? The words slipped from my mouth, propelled by years of longing for closure, wanting to understand how our families had spiraled apart. The room fell silent, the air heavy as if the universe itself were holding its breath. Jake shifted uneasily, emotions warring in his stormy eyes. You owe it to me, Diane, he called out, an edge of determination coloring his voice as he stepped closer. Tell me what's going on now. Mia's body trembled, so visibly alive yet fragile. There was something she wanted to say, but the danger loomed closer, a specter threatening to swallow us whole. If we don't speak now, others will step in, and they won't have your best interest at heart, she urged. Diane's not the only one with ghosts to face. Life is not a game you can play with, Diane hissed. But even as her words left her lips, I could see her fierce grip faltering, slowly unraveled by the truth she had long protected. I don't understand, Jake sputtered, the anger boiling into desperate confusion. What could possibly justify this madness? I thought I knew you. Then don't you see, Mia almost cried, this has never been about just you or Diane's devotion. It's a cycle, one where the pain just keeps circling, and protecting people only digs them deeper. What pain? What cycle? Jake's frustration cracked as he gestured dramatically, his emotions finally boiling over. What are you talking about? And then I felt a shift in the atmosphere, the realization dawning on me like dawn shifting night back into day. The accident, I whispered, pulling together the threads of past memories. The one that took my mom, it's connected, isn't it? Mia's pained expression confirmed it. Yes. It's part of everything. Your father was not just a casual connection. He was involved with her in ways that entangled all of our lives. I felt the world tilt beneath my feet as my pulse thundered, threatening to vibrate right out of my chest. Tell me, Jake demanded through gritted teeth. What happened? But before any of us could speak again, a new flash of movement caught my eye. A hurried figure lurking outside had drawn near, close enough for me to make out details. Lila! A voice broke through the night, desperate and urgent. It was Rachel, my old neighbor, someone who had known both our families well. You've got to get out of there. Fear surged through me at her timely warning. What do you mean? I shouted into the night as I caught her pleading eyes. There's no time. They're coming for you all, she said, her voice hoarse and shaky. You don't know what Diane's involved in. You all need to leave. Panic enveloped the group as blood pooled in my ears. Reality felt tenuous against the backdrop of imminent danger. We exchanged glances, uncertainty mingling with fear. There was an unspoken connection amongst us all, a shared understanding that the truth had never been just ours to discover. It was also something we all bore the weight of, even as shadows of legacy loomed closer. Jake stepped forward, gripping my hand firmly, looking into my eyes with resolute fierceness. Whatever happens, Lila, we stand together. We face what's next, no matter how ugly. Mia nodded slowly, her gaze strong, linking our collective resolve. Together that I am not leaving you, any of you, Rachel added, stepping forward. Inside this web, strength lies in our unity. Then let's go, I said, finding an unexpected surge of courage amidst the chaos. Whatever truth we find, it's time to face it. I grabbed Jake's hand tightly. The sense of impending dread faded, replaced by the fiery determination that coursed through my veins. I could feel Mia beside us, and with a glance toward Diane, whose face bore the weight of countless secrets, I prepared to face whatever lay ahead, knowing that no revelation, however dark, could tear apart the binding strength of shared truth and love. For in the embers of uncertainty, a flickering light lingered, reminding us of the choices ahead and the bittersweet power of forgiveness and understanding. We would unravel the past, face the shadows hanging over us, and emerge into the dawn with clarity, ready to reclaim our stories. Let's go, I whispered once more, summoning the strength to tread the path ahead. And as we stepped into the darkness hand in hand, I felt the warmth of hope wrapping around us like a promise that echoed through time. The truth was not just ours to unveil, but a chance to embrace our collective future, together. In the end, every painful scar had the potential to remind us that true love possessed the power to forge light from darkness, serving as proof that we could rise from the ashes, no matter how fierce the storm. For in this journey we wouldn't be just uncovering secrets, we'd be healing the fractures in our hearts, inching toward an acceptance we never once thought possible, and reclaiming the lives we were meant to live. And as that realization washed over me, one indefatigable truth stood out: the ties that bind us through pain and healing resonate deeper than we could ever imagine, illuminating the darkness with the unwavering light of love.